Hi all, welcome to Chess 24/7, and you're encountering first stream for the year. And we right off the bat have some issues with the camera. We just make a few changes here and there, and we should be. I'm not sure why this keeps on happening. Let me just see. Um, okay, let me see what's the issue here. Yeah, there we go. This should be, yeah, we are good with the camera as well. Okay, so we're playing with, I mean, uh, we're going to be solving a few puzzles for the day, and let's get started. Um, so we are playing with black pieces. By the way, I'll be starting out with playing a few games after, let's say, a week or so, because I'm still preparing a few opening lines. So let's see how it turns out. But yeah, till then I'll be working on the puzzles here. Yeah. Okay. So we're playing with black pieces. We both have equal amount of pieces, yeah, but there's one move that I'm really interested in, that is knight f1, because then if I get another move I can do knight g3 and win the queen. Yeah, knight f1, and there are no checks available by the white queen or the white pieces, I should say. So knight f1 uh, should do the trick here, but I'm not sure if that is, I mean, I should go for that, because rest all my pieces are kind of passive, right? So knight f1, how can black respond to that, right? If he goes to king g1, oh, he can't go to g1, yeah. So knight f1, and if he captures on knight f1 and rook f1, then queen f1, and we should be better because we are up the exchange, right? So knight f1 is what I'm thinking about. Let's go for that. Hmm. Okay. If knight f1 does not work, I mean, I don't know why knight f1 doesn't work. I mean, yeah, the queen can move to f3 or something like that. But if that is not, if knight f1 is not the move, what am I missing? Knight g2 is there. Oh wait, queen b2? Is it queen b2? Because I hit the knight and also the rook. Yeah. Let's see. Is it queen b2? Hmm. Okay, that is strange. Let me see the solution of this puzzle. It's rook ae1. Yeah. But let's turn on the analysis engine. And after queen e4, why doesn't knight f1 work? Yeah. And if I come here, the king can move, and then I run out of checks, right? But okay, makes sense. Let's move on to our next puzzle for the stream. So my opponent's king is not looking good. Yeah. Um. hmm. So rook h2 is what I'm thinking about. Rook h2 check. He has got only one square, which is king g5. Hmm. Luckily, I don't have any checks from my opponent. The other idea is bishop f8, and let's say if I get to play rook h6, he still has got king g5 there. Yeah. And what about one of my rooks landing on f5, bishop f5, this rook comes here, and then he's got a few options. King g6 is there. Yeah. I think rook h2, king comes to g5, and then bishop f8, because then I'm threatening bishop h6, and that should be a mate, right? So let's say rook h2 and then king g5, let's say, and then bishop f8, and let's say now I get another move for some apparent reason, then I can play bishop h6, right? And that should be checkmate, right? So yeah, let's see how black can respond to that. I think the first move is forced, so he has got only one square, which is king g5, and then bishop f8 is there. Yeah. Hmm. After bishop f8, he can go for g3, because bishop h6 is then met with king g4. Yeah. And then I can play rook f4 also. Check. And that should also be a mate, right? Yeah. So that looks good. Yeah. And now bishop f8. Awesome. Bishop f6 and rook f4. Nice. Okay, moving on to our next puzzle for the stream. So this is probably an endgame kind of a puzzle. I mean, it is an endgame puzzle to be precise. I mean, what I'm trying to think in this position is if I can somehow create a pass pawn in one of these. I mean, it's not possible on the king side. Maybe on the queen side, if I can do something. If I just capture on c4, the other pawn can capture on c4, right? And then this pawn is kind of closed. In fact, my opponent didn't get a pass pawn, right? I'm thinking about bishop g4, check, king g4, and then bringing my rook to g8, trying to inflict some danger from the g and the f file, but I'm not sure if that's enough. And e4 check, I don't achieve anything because he can just play king f4. Yeah. Also, after pawn g4, rook g4 is also possible. So that's something I have to take into consideration. Yeah, e4 check looks very promising, but then he can play king f4, right? And everything is sorted. If I play rook c4, pawn c4, and my f pawn is weak, right? Um, the other idea is that's very far-fetched, to be honest. Rook c4, pawn c4, and then I capture on g4. After king g4, I play king e8, because then in a way I'm getting the opposition, right? If I'm right about this, yeah. And the only thing that I need to be aware, that I need to think about or keep in mind is this. Then there's this pawn on c4 and d5. They could potentially havoc on my d6 pawn. I have to remain in this area of the board. Hmm. And if you think about this pawn is lone pawn. It's a lone pawn, right? So if I can get to e5 or d5, this pawn should be. I mean, I'll be able to win it. In fact, if I reach in any of these three squares, I should be able to win the pawn. Yeah. However, I just don't see how to go about that. Also, this my opponent's king can come to the h file, grab this pawn, and then make a pass on of his own. So rook c4 is very tempting, but I just don't see the follow up. Hmm. Rook c4, pawn c4, captures on g4, king g4. The other option is pawn g4. If rook g4, then rook c3 check, and then let's say king e4. At least then I've got rook h3, but then he has got rook g7 check, right? And he enters the second rank, which is not good for me. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. You know what? I think e4 looks real good here, but after king f4, rook c4, pawn c4, and then if I capture on g4, king g4 is there, and then this pawn, even if I push it to e3, the king can easily enter the square of the pawn, right? And then e2, and then you can just go to f2 also, right? Hmm. I'm not sure. I think I'll go with rook c4. I just don't see the follow up though. Yeah. And now one idea could be to go to c3, c7, b6, c5. But what about this f pawn? I mean, I can push for f5 there, f4 there, and that looks great because if king comes to e4, then this f4 pawn is a liability. However, black then has two pawns against my one pawn. Although this is a rook pawn, so I can in some situations be able to make some improvement, but then I'm afraid of the c5 push. If my king ever gets away from this d5 pawn, that could be a little annoying. First take the pawn, I guess. Yeah, but then what's the follow-up? After if I capture on g4, that looks good. But king g4, and I'm not sure how to proceed here. But yeah, I mean, this is my candidate move. If I don't come up with anything, I'll go for this. I'll take my, I mean, I'll put my money on pawn g4, king g4. Let's go for this. Yeah, and now king e8 looks very anti-endgame move, but that does gain me some opposition. But then I'm just afraid of c5 push, and then maybe at some point of time you can also go for d6 sacrificing something like that. The other idea is king c7, but that's too slow because king. Oh, you know what? This is interesting. If you think about this, this pawn on e5 is a passed pawn, right? So my opponent's king needs to be in this square, yeah. And the other square that will be formed will be this particular square, right? The point being, I can go to c7 there, and if he comes to h5, then maybe at some point of time I can go for e4, right? So yeah, c7 should be the move here. Awesome. Yeah, let's move on to our next puzzle. Okay, why is Spotify not playing? I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, so there is this particular diagonal is pretty weak. My bishop is almost lost. Hmm. Now I can capture on c4, right? That's obvious move, because the if let's say he captures on c4, then I can capture back on d2 with my queen, knight d2, and bishop e3 maybe, check, rook e3, and then I can capture back on d2. That way we both will be, but then he can get this e4 pawn later on, right? Okay, and let's say if bishop e3, and let's say if he captures the queen, right? And then knight c4, if pawn c4, I have got queen d1 check. Yeah, so he cannot really put any of his pieces on e1 or f1. So he's basically forced to play king f2. Yeah. So after, I think this is interesting. Bishop e3 check. The rook cannot capture because of knight c4. I hit the queen and the rook, right? So after bishop e3 check, queen e3 is forced. Knight c4, pawn c4, queen d1 check, king f2, and then I can bring my other rook into the game, and it's almost made. So he has to capture back on d2, but this knight is also guarding, so rook d2 does not work if you. But then I get the rook also, right? I think bishop e3 is my candidate move here. Forcing queen e3, knight c4, pawn c4, queen d1, king f2. Yeah, and knight c4 directly, pawn c4, queen d2, knight d2, bishop e3, rook e3, rook d2, and then rook e4. Yeah, that does not work. Yeah, I just don't see it. Bishop e3, queen e3. I mean knight c4, pawn c4, queen d1. It's almost made, but it's not because of king f2, right? And then all my pieces are gone, right? I don't have anything to attack apart from my rooks, but then that would be a very slow attack, I would say. Let's go for bishop e3, but I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. Knight c4, pawn c4, and then what? Can I capture on g3? I don't think so, because queen d1 comes with check, right? But I don't see it. Queen d1 check, rook d1, and then pawn captures, and bishop e3 check. But then he has got. Okay, I mean, I'm not sure why this particular variation was selected as the answer for that puzzle, but yeah. Okay, so we are playing with black pieces, and my opponent's king is almost running out of squares. The pawn are going this way, right? Okay. But then he's got a pawn majority, right? Let's check. That can be a little threatening, right? What about a2? And then he can go for b4 check. And let's say if I manage to play king e5, then he's got e7, right? So I have to take care of e7 as well. Okay, this is interesting. The other idea is I just promote, right? c1 pawn promotes to a queen, bishop c1, and then this g5 pawn move is not available. Um, maybe he can go for c6 there, and if I go to, let's say, a2, sorry, d6, d7, and then I promote, but then this pawn promotes with check. Maybe after d7 king, e7 is the move. c6, I promote, he gives me a check, I capture. Yeah, that is better. I think promoting to a queen and exchanging the bishop on c1 should. Oh wow. That, okay. But then let me see. What's the problem with pawn promoting to a queen there? Check. If I capture. Oh yeah. Okay. Awesome. I think that was a pretty silly move, which I did not see. But then again, can't do much about it now. Okay, so bishop g5 looks very interesting. Bishop g5, but then I think rook d6. And if I capture on d6, bishop d6, saving everything. Yeah. Let me see. Bishop, I think they. The other move is knight coming to d5, but then rook d6 is still there, right? So yeah, bishop g6, bishop g5, my bad. He can probably play knight f, rook f7 as well. Okay. What about bishop f4 there? I hit the bishop, right? The knight on e5, right? But then he can go to knight g6 maybe, saving and counter attacking my bishop. So maybe bishop g5 looks real good. Bishop g5, I hit the rook d6. Rook d6, bishop d6. It's not possible. Okay, yeah. I think bishop g5 is the move. Bishop g5, rook d6, rook d6. If bishop d6, I just capture and I save the knight as well. Yeah. After bishop g5, you can go to f7. But I can still capture on e7, but then rook captures on d1, rook d1, and then rook e7. And after rook d8 check, king f7 is already there. Also after bishop g5, if he captures on d1, rook d1, rook f7 is there, bishop e7, rook e7, rook d7, rook d8, my bad, check, king f7. Not sure if bishop g5 is the move. I think let's go for bishop g5. Come on, is it bishop f4? What is it then? But I just don't see it. Wait, this is so annoying because I just don't see the move after. And what if he comes here? Oh yeah, I can take it to check, right? And if he goes, still take with check. This is so, I mean, frustrating. this should be simple, right? I can capture on e1, queen e1, and then I can capture back on d6. Yeah, this should be right. Rook e1, queen e1, queen d6 should be the move here. Okay, but then I can save my queen in a lot of different ways. Maybe knight, maybe queen coming to e5, queen e5, knight e5, right? Queen c7 is also there, but queen e5 looks good here, right? Queen e5, knight e5, rook d7 is not possible because of the knight controls d7. If f4, hmm, if if I play queen c7, he can play queen e7. So I think queen e5 should be the move, right? Awesome. Yeah, that was pretty simple. Okay, so there's some pressure on the f and g files, especially on g2. Hmm. However, there is some pressure on the 7th rank as well. In fact, if this rook were not on f5, queen h7 would have been a mate, right? Hmm. Okay, let's see. Hmm. Now, one move that is, I mean, it's screaming to be played is bishop g2, king g2, and rook h4. Let's say if for some reason I get another move to play, I can play queen h3, king g1, and queen h1. That's mate, right? However, after bishop g2, king g2, rook h4, you can play rook h1 there. Yeah. And then I can capture on h1, check, king h1, queen comes to h3, check, king g1, and then rook. But then my rook is already, yeah, I don't have it on the h file, right? Hmm. Bishop g2, king g2, queen, rook h5, also rook h5 makes sure there is no queen h7 check. Yeah, this queen check is not available. Okay. Bishop g2, king g2, rook h5, rook h1. Hmm. Guys, I'll be back in a moment. I'm getting a call. Okay, so we are back. Hmm, why does it keep stopping? Let me just select something else to play here. Yep. Okay. So yeah, so where were we? Yeah, Bishop G2, King G2, Rook H4, check. Oh, sorry, Bishop G2. I mean, we don't have anything else, right? I mean, I can capture on F2, Rook F2, but then let's see what about Queen H3 is. I don't know. So let's go for Bishop G2. What is it then? Wow, what? Rook H5 directly. Okay. No, but then strange. I mean, anyhow, let's move on to our next puzzle. We're playing with black pieces. Mhm. So there's some pressure on on e4. My queen is, I mean, my bishop is pinned, but then this queen is, and this is kind of also, in a difficult position. So how can we go about this puzzle? Um, looks like my queen can't really move. I mean, my queen doesn't have a lot of good squares. Maybe I can go to c7. Yeah. But apart from that, I mean, don't know how to go about this. My queen is very much restricted here. Hmm. Oh wait, oh wait. Bishop f2 check, king f2, and I have a discovered attack on the king, right? And knight h6. But the bishop f2, king f2, my queen is also attacked, right? Knight h6. That's a check. And how does, I mean, he can play something like, if he plays bishop f4, I can't really capture on d4 because of this knight on c3, on on f3, yeah. But bishop f2, hmm, yeah, this is interesting. I mean, bishop f2, king f2. Um, I can go for knight d3 as well. Because then the king cannot really move, right? Yeah, so bishop f2, bishop c2, my bad, bishop c2, king c2, knight comes to d3. However, he can capture on d3 with the king, right? And then I just don't have any more checks available. But yeah, this is something I can think about. Oh wait, bishop h, knight h6, right away? C2. Yeah. Bishop C2 check idea. Right. I messed up the coordinates. Yeah. The other idea is to play knight A6 directly. I hit the queen, right? And if bishop comes to A6, I've got bishop C2 check, king A1, and then queen C8 is mate, right? Hmm. Yeah, you can say that. It's always the white pieces with which we are playing, so yeah, it's easier that way. But anyhow, I think knight a6 is a pretty decent move, I guess, in my opinion, because luckily I don't have any direct checks available from my opponent, right? Um, knight h6, bishop a6, bishop c2, and then king a1, and then queen c1 is mate. Yeah. The other move of knight a6 is that he can go for a something like, I don't know, maybe queen a4, keeping an eye on c2, because then bishop c2 check, queen c2 is there, and I cannot capture the the rook on d4 because of this knight on f3. Yeah. I mean, I can win a pawn that way, but then he has got 2 and 5, and I've got 5 pawns. But I don't think so. It will be about winning the pawns only. Bishop c2, king comes to c2. This is easy. Bishop c2, king c2, knight a6. I just don't. Okay, bishop c2, king c2, and then knight a6, right? I mean, I am not sure if that is the move, because he can go to b1, right? And if I capture a4, he can capture my queen back, right? And okay, we win a pawn, but I don't think so if it's enough. But anyhow, because you said that, let's apply that logic into practice. Let's go for bishop c2 and knight a6. Let's see. Yeah, see, that's not the right move. Knight a6. Um, no, it won't be, because our queen is also under attack on from the rook on d4. Yeah, I think your move was a little premature in this position, but anyhow, good try. Yep, yep. You didn't visualize it properly, but anyhow, the other move is knight d3. Yeah, but then he's got knight king coming to e3 as well. The other move is knight comes to e4 check. He's got king b3 still, right? Um, and still I cannot capture the rook on on b6 because of this knight. So what could it be? Let's see the solution. Queen check. Oh, wow, that's interesting. That's a double check. Oh wow, this is beautiful because this is a mate. Awesome. Nice. Should have seen that, man. Anyhow. Hi Shashank. Nice to have you on stream once again. Yeah. Right, you're right, Gaurav, about that. But anyhow, let's move on to our next puzzle. Let's see if we can solve this one. Okay, so there is some pressure on b7. Also, my rook is okay. Right now it's protected, but yeah. I'm thinking about bishop f1 here. Yeah. But then he has got, yeah, he can't play d5 because my rook is kind of pinning the pawn, right? So yeah, bishop f1 looks easy, right? Okay, yeah, he has got knight c2, which I need to be aware of, but then I've got queen coming to c3, right? So yeah, bishop f1 should do the trick. Yeah. Let's see if we can get this correct. But I can still capture on c4 because this pawn is well protected, right? So let's go for this. Awesome. That was pretty easy. Let's move on to our next puzzle. Yeah, it was pretty easy, the previous puzzle. So let's go for our next puzzle. So our opponent's king is not looking good. Yeah. And I think because we have some space advantage, I can also think about sacrificing my pieces and then pushing my pawns. That could be one potential idea, because maybe this a6 pawn, a5 pawn could be a major trouble. But let's see. So knight e6 is one check available with us, but doesn't really work. Yeah. The other idea could be to play b6. If queen b6, then I can go for queen f7 check, and after king f6, queen f8, forcing nothing. That should be mate, right? After b6, queen b6, queen f7, king h6, queen f8 is mate. So that's one idea. However, after b6, he will obviously not capture on b6. Similarly, I can try the same with d6 as well. Yeah. D6. But I'm just figuring out b6 is better or d6. D6. Yeah. I think d6 is much. I mean, it's better compared to b6 because I can also threaten d7 at some point of time if he does not capture on. Oh no, you know what? The problem with d6 is queen d6, queen f7 is possible, king h6, and then queen h7 is also there, right? Yeah, I don't have to play queen f8. So yeah, d6 is better here. Awesome. And now I can capture on e5, right? But then, okay, let's see. Yeah. Oh, wow, this is beauty. Queen e7 check, queen e7, pawn e7, and because of my knight on g5, there is no king f7, and there is no way to prevent the pawn promotion. Yeah. Queen d7 is. Oh wow, queen e7 is not working out. Oh wow, is it? I see. Because if pawn takes, then queen c7. Awesome. Close but no cigar. Anyhow, let's go on to our next puzzle. This is an endgame puzzle. Nice. It's one of those classical endgames with the two pawns versus this one pawn on the rook file, but normally the king is closer to his own pawn. I think e4 looks real good here. Yeah, queen c5 is working, but then you said queen e7 previously, right? Yeah, so at that point of time, queen e7 was not working. Yeah, later on we discovered queen c5 was the move. But anyhow, I move my hands a lot, man. By the way, Gaurav, I think you are, I mean, this is the first time I'm seeing you on my stream. If you are visiting my channel for the first time, I would say give my channel a shot if you like what you see. Yeah. I stream on weekends. That's Saturday and Sunday, and at some point of time, Fridays as well. So yeah, I think e4 looks real good here because the king cannot stop the pawn on e4 then, right? However, he can go for something like g5, pawn g5, pawn g5, e3, g6, e2, g7, and I promote. And he can also promote, right? And then you know what? At some point of time, I can exchange the queens because, and then I can capture on a4 and push for my a pawn, right? Because I really cannot stop him from getting this h6 pawn right away. If he goes for something like king g6, I can't really do much about it, right? So let's, and king a4 and then pushing the a6 pawn is too slow. So yeah, e4 should be the move here. I should capture, right? Come on, is it pushing the pawn forward? Or what is pushing it? But I don't see the point now. What, what is it? Oh yeah, I can capture here. Phew. This is so annoying, man. So there's some definitely pressure on e6. It's a soft square right now. We don't have any queens on the board. I mean, for the white pieces, we don't have any queen. I think rook f7. Either of the rook captures on f7, then knight e6 check. I can capture back, right? However, after rook f7, he can also capture on h6. Yeah, that's equally interesting. And what about knight f7? If rook f7, then knight e6 is there, winning away the queen. But you know what the problem is? My rook on f4 is kind of loose, right? So after that's a knight f7, rook f7, knight e6 check. I don't know. Let's say goes to king g8. I can capture on d8, but my f4 rook is then lost, right? That doesn't work. He'll be having two rooks, and I'll be having one rook. I'll be a rook down there. What about rook f7? Rook f7 king h6 is possible, right? But then I can capture the rook on a7. But still, it's not. Yeah, I mean, we can't be sure that it will be enough because if I can get both of these rooks for both of my knights and this knight, I mean, if I get a position where I have two rooks against his lone queen, then it will be almost equal, I would say, if the pawns are not. I mean, if the pawns are on the board for both the sides. Gaurav, could you comment the move you're talking about? Because if knight c6 is what you're talking about, pawn e6 is there. Right, so I don't know what move you're talking about. Yeah, but obviously at some point of time we have to kind of exchange to win the queen basically, right? Knight f5 is just, or is it? Let's knight f5, pawn f5. I can bring my other rook to g5, sorry, to g3 check. If he goes to h6, that's just bad because of rook h4. Yeah, so knight f5 check. Pawn f5, rook comes to g3. Oh hi, I am so sorry, man. I cannot pronounce your name. Um, Hasta 22. Nice to have you on stream, man. I'm so sorry. I just cannot pronounce your name correctly. Forgive me for that. Nice to have you on stream, though. Okay, so knight f5 check. Oh, got it. So you're talking about the last puzzle. Knight f5 check. Pawn f5. Rook g3 is there. He can just play king h8, right? And then he's safe. Yeah. Maybe knight f5 isn't the move here. Yeah. Um, Rook f7, check. King h6, I capture on a7. Is it enough? That's what the question is. And then I also get the a7 pawn. I just don't know. Rook f7, he can also capture with one of his rooks there. I mean, capturing with the f rook is just bad because of 96, and then I win the queen. And I also, um, but you know what? Even that's not working out because he can also then capture on h6. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some pressure on e6, but just can't pinpoint that particular move. Knight e6, pawn e6. Knight f5, check. King f7 is also possible, right? And then he can just escape. Yeah. I mean, knight f5, check. Pawn f5, rook g3, check. King h6 is just bad, right? Um, King h8 is there. Rook c7, you mean rook f7, then another knight to d6. Okay, let me see. Rook f7, check. Then the other knight to d6, check. But then if he captures on, oh wow, this is so amazing. Rook f7, yeah, this is right. Rook f7, let's see, captures with his f rook, knight check. Yeah, if he captures on h6, we've got rook h3, right? That is mate. However, after rook f7, knight check, he can go to h8. He can capture on d8. Rook can capture on d8 and then knight f7. Oh yeah, this is winning. I think this should be it. Let's see. And now I can capture on d8. Oh, okay. What's the difference then? Oh, I completely. This is so embarrassing. I completely missed rook f1. That's mate. That's. No, man. I mean, I was so close, but still I lost that. I mean, I don't know. Okay, so we are in the end game. Okay. So this is one of those classical positions. If this pawn on c on f3, then I think I could have made some sacrifices. Yeah. So okay, fine. I mean, it's not fine, man. I mean, it's always been like I would get a few moves correct, but then the last move would be incorrect, and this is so frustrating. But anyhow, I guess that's how you learn. Yeah. Okay. So we are in the end game, and I have the opposition. He has got 6 pawns. I've got 6 pawns, so we are almost equal in terms of the material. Also, is threatening to play king d3 there. Yeah. Oh, hi, Deadly Mastermind. Nice to have you on stream. Oh yeah, yeah. Please go ahead, man. That's perfectly fine. Um, I think I'm thinking about on the lines of H4 maybe on H4. If I capture on F4, this F pawn, then this H pawn becomes extremely dangerous, right? And if I play G4, he can just shut down the king side with H4. Yeah. So the other idea is to play king D6 so that if king D3, I can go for king C5, H4. That's okay. And after that, H4, if he captures on H4, then how should we go about it? Because yeah, I'm sorry. H4 looks very interesting after pawn H4, pawn C5. Yeah, and after H4, um, H4, and then what? G4. But then the other pawn can capture on G4, right? And if I capture back, he has got two pawns. Yeah, and king D6. What? Sorry, F H4, GH4, and king D6. Wait, maybe I'm missing out your chats. Let me view it on a different screen. My bad. Um, H4 or G takes F4. Okay, G takes F4, and then King D6. Okay, but H4 is definitely not the right move, right? As you suggested, H4 is, I think, yeah, it's a blunder from Black. Um, I think I can capture an F4, pawn F4, and as uh, Deadly Mastermind said, King D6. But then the only problem is he can play something like King D3, King C5, maybe then A3. You can slowly start building pressure on the queen side, right? Um, and since I have captured on G4, on F4, and the other pawn is also captured on F4, the king side is kind of locked from Black's perspective. He can't do much about that, right? So I am not really convinced about GF4, GF4, and King D6. Isn't winning exactly, right? Yeah, I mean, you're talking about one of those classical endgame positions where the pawns are on the third rank, and it's winning for Black. However, the kings are then not close to these three pawns. That's what you're talking about, yeah. Also, if I capture on f4, gf4, king d6, I'm not really entirely convinced. The other thing could be I can just close the entire king side with g4, and he has to play, I guess, h4 and then king d6. Um, king can come to d3, king c5, a3 with the idea of b4, maybe a5. Yeah, yeah. Um, Anyhow, I have to resolve this tension, right? And also make sure I reach to c5 when he plays king d3. Let's capture on g4, right? But let's see, if I capture on g4, if he pushes, I can capture back. I mean, that's not, I mean, g4 does not really work. Nope, it's gonna be h4 100% as I told you earlier. Wait, h4, g takes, king d6. So if I got your solution correct, basically you're saying to black should play h4 in this position, right? After which white can just capture on h4, isn't it? I'm missing out something. H4 and then G4 will capture. I think you're missing out on something. H4. If he captures, I play G4, right? The pawn can capture back, right? If I capture back, I think the king can easily stop this pawn on G4, and then I have two pawns to deal with. Yeah. Okay, you know what? I'm not. I don't think H4 is the right move here, but just for you guys, I'm going to play it. But I know this is not the right move. Luckily, this is right. G4, but with what? How is this correct? I mean, I saw this position. Wow, I just don't. What's happening? I mean, King F2 there. Oh yeah, I completely neglected the D4 pawn there. This is amazing. Wow, I guess this is embarrassing. Can't solve a few puzzles on stream. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Makes sense. Okay, so we are playing with the we are on to our next puzzle. So technically, oh wait, he played Queen G5, right? Got it. So I can't really move this knight because of Queen coming to H7, and that would be a mate. Yeah. So this knight cannot should not be moved, right? Oh wait, this looks interesting. Queen H1 check. If King G Rook G1, Queen F3, and that is a mate. So Queen H1 check is met with King coming to F2, yeah, and then Rook E2. If King E2, oh yeah, I mean this Rook is protected by the Queen, right? Also, there's pressure on G6, right? So the other idea is Queen F3. However, he can go to King G1, yeah. So I think yeah, Queen H1 check, King F2, and then Queen H4 check. Yeah, I mean I can get rid of the queens. That's one way to go about this, but I'm not sure. Um, let's see. Queen H1 check, King F2, Queen H4, Knight H4 is there, but I think I there should be some mate here. Hmm. Let's see. Knight G3 check, Queen G3, Queen H1, and now Rook G1 is also possible because there is no Queen F3. Yeah, Queen H1, King E2. Rook E2, King E2. Yeah, yeah, it's not Queen H4 because I mean, in this particular, if I were playing this particular position, I would, in a game, go for Queen H4 to be honest, because that would just reduce the pressure. But because it's a puzzle, and I know, oh yeah, I did not see that. I completely ignored the Rook on C1. Wow, I didn't know that I'm down a piece. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Um, okay. The other move is Queen F3, but then King G1 is there. Yeah. Hmm. Queen F1, Queen H1, Rook G1 does not work because of Queen F3 mate here. Um, Queen G1, King E2 here. Knight E3. Okay. And What about knight e3 check? Okay. King g1, knight e3, king g1 is there. Yeah. I mean, this rook is kind of protected by the queen, and then I can win the rook. Is that what you're talking about? With knight b7, queen b7, and then queen coming to, I don't know, like maybe d3. Is that what the idea is? Could be. I mean, I'll be able to win back my rook, right? Knight e3 and bishop e3 is also there. Open the f file for the rook. No, but then so knight e3, bishop e3, rook check, king f1. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I need to involve my e rook. That's for sure. Oh wait, oh wait. Let me see. Queen d3, king g1. It has to be a check. Yeah, I mean, now I have two checks available: Queen h1 or knight e3 or knight g3. Knight g3 is just doesn't make sense, right? Knight e3, bishop e3 is there. Oh wait. Knight e3, bishop e3, queen h1, check. But then bishop g1 is also there, or rook g1 is also. Oh, no, rook g1 is not working, but yeah, bishop g1 could be there. Hmm. Let's see. Knight e3, bishop e3. I don't have time to capture on e3 with my rook because of queen g7, followed by a mate on g7. Yeah. Knight e3, bishop e3, queen f1, queen h1, bishop g1. Yeah. Queen f3, king goes to g1, right? Um, yeah. But still, there's some pressure on g6. I need to do something about that as well. And I don't have any checks available, any more checks available after queen f3. Yeah. Okay, so this looks interesting. I mean, knight g3, if queen g3, rook f1, rook f8, check. But then he has got king g1 as well, right? And then my queen is kind of forced to, yeah. And also there's some pressure on g6. Then knight e3 is what you was suggested earlier. Bishop e3. Okay, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. Knight e3 or knight g3 or queen h1. Those are the only moves. Let's say rook e1. That's just a foolish move, but let's just make it rook e1. Queen check king e2 is still possible, right? Hmm. I think I can capture on g3. That way I can also defend g6, but definitely that's not the move, right? Um, Oh, okay. This knight cannot really move because I was thinking about knight h4, but then queen h7 is mate. Okay, let's go for queen h1. I just don't see it, but let's go for it. Yeah. Okay. Now queen f3 or what? Queen d3. What is it? None of these moves are working out. Wait, what? Knight h4, which are disregarded. Queen h7. Okay, let me just turn on the visualization. I mean the analysis. So after this, king goes there. Check. Oh, come. And then white just runs out of checks. Wow. You know what? Let's call it a day. Maybe um, the puzzles are getting ahead of me. So maybe let's call it a day. I mean, this is going to be the last puzzle for the stream, I should say. So yeah, let's try to solve this, and then we'll probably solve. We'll go for the stream next. I mean tomorrow. Yeah. So a knight f3 check looks pretty interesting. However, I mean, if we can capture an f3, queen g5 check, king goes to h1, and then bishop f3 is made. However, for knight f3, yeah, he can go to h1 as well, right? Um, and then maybe queen comes to h4, and then he can go for h3 as well. Yeah. What about bishop f3, bishop g2, king g2, queen g5 check, king h1? Oh, wow, that is also interesting, right? I mean, I'm down by a full rook. Yeah, so it has to be some attack. So bishop g2, king g2, queen g5. So you can't come to h3 because of queen g4. That will be made. So king h1, knight f3. That's kind of very slow, right? Because then he's got queen d4 check, right? Yeah, and then maybe he can kind of get back into the game. And if I just play queen g5, threatening a mate, he can just play something like f3. Yeah, bishop takes, rook takes, or maybe pawn takes, knight f3, rook takes, and even then it's not a mate, right? Hmm. Knight f3, pawn g3 is just bad for white, and he knows that's knight f3, king h1, knight h2, king h2, queen h4, king g1 is there. Yeah. Um. So that doesn't work out either. Queen g5 is a forcing move, right? If he goes for something like